good old Rob to talk you through all this.
some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Two. Check. Check 2. What is up, friends? Hello. Thank you, Cinnamon Challenge. Our friend Cinnamon Challenge for the 26 months tier 1. Thank you, Sin Chow. Thanks you, Lodane, also for the raid. Thanks, Lodane. Thank you for the raid. I hope the opening stream was good. I checked in for a couple minutes, but I was doing some other stuff at the same time. Shirt triplets. We got everyone with the Russo Institute shirts today. Looking forward to that Friendship Triangle reunion shirt, like Frank's referencing. Should come soon. You notice anything different about me? Oh god, now when I look at this part of the screen, I totally look like I'm staring off into nothing. I don't know, I thought maybe I could try this. Thought maybe I could try something different. You're less smart. You look the same as ever to me. It's funny because like this is how I looked like normally. I've worn glasses on every single stream that I've done now, thousands of hours of streaming. I've been wearing glasses, but I don't actually wear glasses in real life. I look like this. This is how I look normally.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Thank you, Lennon Smash. Thank you. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Very, very much appreciated. Thank you. Are people freaking out now? Well, I can wear them. Yeah, Johnny, I do not wear glasses. Like, this is how I look. I only look like that when I'm streaming. So, I can wear them. You know, I can. Really, it was a lighting thing for me. I think with my camera, which was not as good, and the way that the lighting was, I felt like I needed them to be on camera. And now I have this new camera. It's like maybe I don't have to. But I must admit, now that I'm looking at myself, it seems weird. I don't know why. It feels weird to me. What made you commit that hard to the glasses? I just think honestly, I just think it's a pure fashion thing, Johnny. It's pure fashion. I just think I look better on camera with the glasses. And they're blue light blockers as well. So it's like I tell myself staring at the screen and the lights and stuff, it makes some kind of impact. I don't know though. I kind of think I need them now. I tried to talk myself into going no glasses, and now I don't think I can do it. I kind of feel like I need them. It's like when Clark Kent's friends can't recognize him as Superman because he isn't wearing glasses. It's right. It's like it's just a completely different vibe. I'm going to turn the TRRS reunion shirt into such a beautiful crop top. I'm looking forward to seeing the alterations, and I'm looking forward to seeing folks in their TRRS Friendship Triangle reunion at the Ryugyong Hotel shirts. I got a hoodie and a couple shirts. I'm going all in on this. I get it for cheap too because it's my merch store. I get a little discount. I think I got to keep the glasses. I don't know. It just looks better. It just looks better. You know, I always found that funny, that trope about Clark Kent and Superman too. It's like, it doesn't make sense. You know, he just wears the glasses and all of a sudden they don't recognize. That, I think, is one of the crazy things about Christopher Reeve's performance in the Superman film, is that it really is, you see Clark Kent and you're like, there's no fucking way that guy's Superman. Yeah, they look kind of similar, sure. But if you knew Clark Kent, if he's like your friend and you hang out with him every day, you work with him, you'd be like 0% chance. 0% chance that this guy's Superman. I don't care how similar they look. I love that scene. I saw the scene on Twitter the other day where like Lois tests him, that scene, and it's so great because he shifts, but just by like taking a little breather and like just shifting his stance a little bit, and his expression changes, and it just, he all of a sudden he's like, oh, there he is, there's Superman. It's so cool. I really like that stuff. You know who else really nailed that about Superman character? Brandon Routh. The Brandon Routh Superman movie wasn't that good. It wasn't very good, but Routh was very good in it, doing basically a Christopher Reeve impression. But he was excellent in that. Henry Cavill was a decent Superman too, although that I don't think that distinction with Clark and Superman really worked as well in those ones. The casting is never the problem in those films. Like, for some reason, it's just really difficult for people to make a decent Superman movie. I'm wondering if the James Gunn Superman movie is going to be good. Let me see if I can find that clip. Seeing if I can find the clip. One sec. It's all like WB Superman stuff, which I haven't watched any of that. There's no way you wouldn't recognize him just because he's wearing glasses. Meanwhile, I see the non-mirror version of my face and I'm like, who the fuck is this? I know. You believe it. You absolutely believe it. When you see him in that scene. I can't find it. I can't find it. Here we go.
Help it if I had to go to
Like, look at this though. Like, look at this guy. You'd see this. You work with this guy every single day. You're with him at the office. You hang out with him. This guy's not super. Like, look at him. He's not Superman. I don't care if they look similar. Look at him.
I can't help it if I had to go to the...
You are Superman, aren't you?
Lois, look, we've been through these hallucinations of yours before. Can't you see what you almost did? Throwing yourself off a building 30 stories high. Can't you see what a tragic mistake you almost made?
I made a mistake. I made a mistake because I risked my life instead of yours.
Lois, don't be insane.
And don't fall down, because you're just going to have to get up again.
No, Lois, now don't be crazy now. What?
Christopher Reeve is so great. And then, well, there he is. There he is.
It is you.
So great.
I guess I've known this for the longest time.
You realize, of course, if you'd been wrong, Clark Kent would have been killed.
With a blank?
Oh. What a great moment, too. Great moment for both of them. Great character moment. Love that scene. Got his ass. Look at him. He's like, oh, fuck. She got me. She got me. So I don't know. I guess I got to wear the glasses. I don't know why. It's just like it's like my streamer. You know, it's like how Clark Kent becomes Superman by taking off the glasses. I turn into everyone's favorite Twitch streamer Rob. I turn into when I put on the glasses. No one cared who I was until I put on the glasses. No one cared who I was until I put on the glasses, folks. What a wonderful show we've got today, by the way. What a wonderful show we got. Radio Free Amanda is going to be joining this very program in around 90 minutes from now. Radio Free Amanda, who does really good commentary on China, the new Cold War. She put out a great piece about Ukraine being the real sort of debt trap in the geopolitical arena right now. Going to be a really, really interesting conversation with Radio Free Amanda. In fact, we should probably just get to like the bulk of the show, right? These Twitch chatters, they want to be good people. They can be. They just need someone to show them the way. They just need their good old Rob to talk them through all this. Lana's over here saying Tob. What's up with that? What's going on with that? Jesus. Slub to Tob. Slub to Tob. Tob Tuso. Good. Okay. So do we think that, is it too ambitious to just dive right into that breakthrough news video with Brian Becker to talk about the balloon stuff? Or is that going to be too much? This is the question. Should we dive right into that video? Amanda's coming on at 2 p.m. I guess I do have other stuff I could just talk about until then as well. I'm also getting the TRRS reunion mug. Sick. That's awesome. I have a Fighting Momos mug. Mug Club. Mug Club. I wonder if I'm going to be blessed by the almighty algorithm today. Again, that was exciting yesterday, wasn't it? TRRS I was blessed. Twitch officially endorsed a Stalin sympathizing Putinist tanky on the front page of Twitch. Twitch officially endorses these views now. There is no other way of getting around it. God help us. God fucking help us. 1K Rob, that's what they're calling me. That's what they're calling me. I don't know. It's like I can't. If people want to call me 1K Rob, I mean that's their prerogative. That's their prerogative. If they want to do that. The red star over Twitch. That's right. It's about time, frankly. Yeah, of course, the big tech leftist bias. That's right. They're putting Stalinists on the front page of Twitch now. That's how dire things are getting over there. Messed up. Sponsored by Coca-Cola and the CPC. That's correct. The two main sponsors. Tub to tub. And yes, the sub goal did get obliterated, but just like Sisyphus, I had to fucking reset that goal today and go right back to the start. Because that's my life now. That's my life now. Just pushing that boulder up the hill. And then every day just letting it roll back down. And that's my grind set. That's my grind set. The balloon was to transmit to Biden that they needed to move you to the front page, and he dutifully followed the orders. Good. Everything going according to plan. I heard that Sisyphus is happy because he's getting buff. That's right. Yeah. He loves it. He has a healthy physical activity he can focus on every day. Really, it wouldn't be that bad of a gig in comparison to any other job. If your job was just to roll a boulder up a hill, like, do you get to listen to music or podcasts? Like, that's not so bad. Even the simplicity of it seems nice. You can kind of check out a little bit. You don't have a boss. You don't have to write emails. You don't have to go to meetings. You don't have team meetings or team, no dress code. No mandatory after hours meetups. At least you don't get your liver eaten from a crow every day. That's right. Yeah. Why is there Sisyphus discourse? I don't know. It'd be nice. Yeah, that's how alienated we all are in the capitalism in our declining empire. That's how alienated we all are. I was talking the other day about being in like an alien zoo, how that would kind of not be so bad. If all your needs were met, you get a couple meals a day. Yeah, you can look at me in the zoo. I don't care. Whatever. I got a roof over my head. Or now Sisyphus. You can be an alien zoo or Sisyphus, and it's just like, sure, this is not that bad. Comparison to being like a gig economy worker, this is actually pretty decent. Streamer zoo, exactly. Just put us in there. We've just might as well just get it over with. Might as well just get it over with, Fuck it. Just lock me in a warehouse and just feed me a bunch of hay or whatever. I can get on my little content hamster wheel every day. And you get one of those little straws with the water thing. That's how you get your refreshment. But it's like the flavored fizzy water, maybe. A little hay and carrots is a treat sometime. That's right. Oh. What a sad state of affairs this is. What a sad state of affairs. All the streamers are warehoused. I will say that there's been like a number of very public Twitch streamer meltdowns going on lately. And as you can see, your favorite Twitch streamer, who many refer to as the main, or there's a couple of them, but like the good Twitch streamer, you know, overall a worthless bunch of people, a wretched hive of scum and villainy. You'll notice, though, that there's a number of public massive meltdowns going on from some prominent Twitch streamers. Not me, though. You look over here, you see me? Cool, calm, and collected. No meltdowns over here. We're just daydreaming about being in a zoo or some kind of warehouse. Cool as a cucumber, Tob. That's right. Moisturized, in your lane, thriving. Okay, I just have to tweet that I'm live. I'm going to share one of Amanda's articles and just tweet that I'm live and let everyone know that she's coming on the show. As long as I would never incur the wrath of Marina, Stu. Never. Never. What about the poor content creators who want to play the anti-Semitic game from a transphobic author whose books were cool with slavery? I mean, I don't find it difficult to not play those games. I was never part of the Harry Potter fandom. I'm way too old for that, so I don't have any kind of dilemma about this. Oh, I simply must play this game. Like, I just don't care. I'm just not going to play it. It's not. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I understand whatever, the whole no ethical consumption, but it's that people want to like do the thing that people are saying not to do. But not only do they want to play it, but they want to like justify it. And like, they want people to still be like, no, but I'm still good though. You know? That's what I find silly. And yeah, there's no ethical consumption. Yeah, we're on all kinds of, we use Disney products. We use all kinds of products whose authors and creators have said and done terrible things. Like I was saying in the stream yesterday, though, and I don't want to get into this discourse too much again. Like I was saying in the stream yesterday, though, like the whole Harry Potter universe, though, is just completely linked to J.K. Rowling as a creator, who's literally predominantly known as an anti-trans activist now. You know? That's her main thing that she does in the world, not writing or screenwriting or promoting anything. She's literally a transphobic activist. Like, that's what she spends every single day in, day out doing. And I don't know, it's like when trans people are saying, like, don't play this game. I'm not going to feel comfortable or safe in this community if you play this game. Just don't fucking play it then. You know? Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard not to play a wizard game? I don't know. But what if we play the wizard game and also raise money for trans charities? Or what about that? It's like, just don't play. Just play a different game. Just raise that money some other way. Why does it have to be this game? Why? It's so stupid. Just don't play the wizard game. That's all. I mean, fucking Jesus. It's not that big of an ask. It's not that big of an ask. Just don't play the wizard game. It's all right. The streamer is the real victim here. The lead of the game for the majority of its development is an actual Nazi, and the goblin shit is insanely anti-Semitic. That doesn't surprise me, considering that's very much in keeping with the actual content of the story. What was it? Was the...
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
This is one of those amazing tweets ever, actually. Who's this? Sorry, one sec. Thank you, Carrier Wave, for the 22 months resub tier. 24 months! Oh my goodness. Carrier Wave. 24-month resub at tier 2 Carrier Wave. Congratulations to you for the highly elite, highly exclusive 24-month TRRS golden sub badge. The golden badge, baby. You got it. Congratulations to you, and thank you. People justifying playing it who are saying their left is just unreal. Like, you're not getting socialism. You can't put the controller down without crying. Yeah, it's like fucking no. But you're telling me that this game is anti-Semitic themes as well as being from a prominent transphobic activist author. You're telling me that this game has anti-Semitic themes. J.K. Rowling. So, hey, J.K. Rowling, you don't mention in any of your books if one of the wizards is Jewish. Were there any Jewish wizards? First thing she thinks of, Anthony Goldstein, Ravenclaw. Jewish wizard. Yeah, of course there's Jewish wizards. Anthony Dradelstein was the main one. Like, seriously, yeah. No, it's not surprising that there's anti-Semitic themes, in the films or in the games. You're telling me this story is anti-Semitic? Are you serious? By the way, J.K. Rowling, of course, designated herself the anti-Semitism expert during the Corbyn years and just refused to ever support Jeremy Corbyn because of his vile anti-Semitism. You're telling me this game and this film property has anti-Semitic themes? That's just shocking to me. That is absolutely just shocking to me. Super messed up. And I saw Marina chiming in here as well about this. One of the goblin artifacts you can find in that wizard game is literally just a shofar, a Jewish musical instrument, described as being used to annoy witches and wizards. In its description is the year 1612, which was when the Fetmilch uprising took place. The uprising was followed by an outright massacre of Jewish people. Yeah. Cool. It's so easy to not play this game. I don't know. It's like, I don't really get what the big problem is, frankly. I'm not playing it right now. It's simple. It's really easy to figure this out. Thank you to the true heroes, me and the folks in the chat who are just not playing the transphobic author's wizard game. It's not a menorah, it's a dreidel, and cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks. Plenty of other games with wizards. Like, I guess I kind of understand maybe if someone feels this really powerful, profound attachment to this universe. Like I said, like, I'm too old for this. There's people that grew up and were kids and were really obsessed with this universe, and it was the first thing that they really loved so much, and the first like book that they were so passionate about. Like, sure, I'm not one of those people. I can understand why that's maybe some kind of a dilemma, but just like, what do you want me to say? Like, she fucking sucks. Don't blame other people or try to make yourself the victim. Like, blame the fucking author who's a piece of shit. That's why you can't play the game. Don't blame like people being mean to you in Twitch chat or whatever. Blame the author if it's that much of a moral dilemma for you. I slipped and fell down and actually played Wizard game for 60 hours. Don't bully me. Yeah. The transgender bully caucus, the most powerful entity. Yeah. There's other games where you can be a wizard. I don't know. Like, fucking just don't play it. Just don't play it. It's all right. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine not playing the wizard game. It's crazy how J.K. Rowling literally is a billionaire because of this franchise, and literally just spends each and every day losing her fucking mind about this. You know? It's really powerful, the anti-trans hysteria in the UK. She lives in a castle, and she wakes up every day in her castle and is just like, I'm going to defend women from evil men dressing up as women and evil trans people. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, she talks as well about being in poverty and being saved by social programs. Like, she could personally pay for, like, getting rough sleepers and getting homeless people off the streets to sleep in a home. And she's just like, no, this is the political agenda that I have. Fucking lame. Making friends with all these fascists and stuff. Just want to say how much I value you and your perspective on this, considering how toxic others are being on this. I don't really get the big fucking problem that people are having, honestly, Sam. I'm glad that you appreciate it, but I don't totally understand. Like I said, I have a little bit of sympathy for people that were really obsessed with that universe and have a profound, like, childhood connection to it. At the same time, like you're saying, Sam, like, you grow up after a certain point as well. Like, you're an adult now. You know, you're not 10. You're not 10 in the line at the bookstore with your costume to be the first to own the Goblet of Fire now. Like, that was years ago. That was like 15 fucking years ago or longer or whatever, whenever it was. You're an adult now. You, like, pay taxes. You have to pay taxes now. You don't need to play the wizard game. I'm sorry. All of this only reminded me of the one good Haas take. And this is not an endorsement, or this is not trying to get around any bans here. When we take power, we'll make one last Marvel movie. At the end of this movie, all the Marvel heroes and also Mickey Mouse, Star Wars, and Harry Potter will be gunned down in a bloody massacre. All adult fans will be forced to watch. It will all be official canon. I mean, listen. Sometimes he gets it right. Okay? It doesn't mean we have to support everything the guy says. Very rare W. We can acknowledge that. We can acknowledge that. Are there any good books on neoliberal babyfication? I don't know, but I mean, there probably should be, right? Because it's not just about Harry Potter. I was really struck by this watching the Disney Star Wars movies. I think I was really stoned and watching The Last Jedi in the theater, and which I really did not enjoy. And I think I had some kind of, like, realization about how these massive corporations are, like, taking your childhood memories and your childhood nostalgia and just putting it together in this big vat and blending it up and just, like, hooking it back into your femoral artery and giving you this mush, you know, this pablum. Remember this that you liked when you were 10? Well, now here it is again. You know, Ready Player One is the ultimate example of this. Yeah. As everyone is feeling so alienated and everyone's material conditions are declining, there's no future, there's no hope. No one can buy a home. No one can have kids. Our planet's dying. But they're like, ooh, take a hit of this. Take a hit of this little concentrated nostalgia, which has been, like, approved by a board members of this massive, you know, multinational corporation. And focus grouped to give you the most intense hit from the nostalgia crack pipe. I'm just baffled. Like, we're in a culture war. People, you should be able to give up playing a dumb game publicly. How are any of these people socialists? Does anyone read history books that they know what comes next if the fascists win? Yeah, I mean, like, It's also funny, Marina and everyone seeing like these like Roman statue guys now that it's been put through the culture war lens, being like, yeah, I'm buying the Wizard game too. All these like 40-year-old like soy facing men are like, yeah, I'm playing the Wizard game to own the libs. And it's just like, what are you doing? But Ready Player One is that media, not a satire of it. Oh no, I wasn't saying that it was. Yeah, it really is just like the panopticon of that phenomenon. For sure. I liked Avatar as well, but that wasn't just nostalgia. That's a new story. That wasn't just some old property that was reheated and rewarmed, some big thing that was popular in the 80s that they brought back. Even though it leans on these big myths, these classic, the new world tropes or whatever, it leans on that, but it's not just this reheated bit of like 70s or 80s nostalgia. Anyway, and part of me loves the reheated 80s and nostalgia as well. I mean, I saw all the fucking Star Wars movies myself. You know, I understand the appeal. I understand the appeal of it. I just think, especially at one point too, I was really on board with like, oh, new Star Wars movies, that's so cool. Oh, the MCU, I thought the MCU was really cool. This kind of new approach to this kind of long form storytelling, like around maybe 10 years ago, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You know, I loved all those properties as a kid as well. I loved Star Wars and comic books and superheroes and all that bullshit. You know, I liked that. But I think there was just some moment. I think it was after Trump, when all the contradictions of our decaying culture and dying society started becoming more apparent, that all of that stuff just started to take on this way more sinister arc. You know. I kind of thought, oh, it's just kind of harmless nostalgia. But then I started realizing that the actual harm that it is doing. I'm ready to shut out the world and lose myself in an LOTR MMORPG. Isn't there a Mines of Moria Lord of the Rings game coming out? That's cool. That's kind of fun. Hello, everyone. I'm new, but was told somebody named Rob was spittin'. I don't know. I'll let the chat be the judge of that. I'll let the chat be the judge. Am I spitting? Am I, quote unquote, spitting? I don't know. We need the Avengers to arrest the Cheeto. That's right. He's not entirely correct about Last Jedi. We need to talk about it more. Sean, it just was not good. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It's not even that it was all bad. And I don't want to do a long time talking about Last Jedi in the year of our Lord 2023. But it just wasn't good. There was parts of it that I kind of enjoyed. But like, fuck, it's just not a good movie. And it's very lib. It's a very lib movie as well. Like, people were complaining about the humor in it and being like, well, other Star Wars films had humor, but it's like, it's not like that humor inherently is bad. It's just that it's not funny. It's like you're trying to do humor, but it's soy banter. It's that Marvel style soy banter. That's not fun. That's not actually funny. It's that Joss Whedon style bullshit. Oh, they fly now? Well, that just happened. Yeah. Darth Vader's behind me, isn't he? Star Wars movies. I don't totally agree with this. No free will. Star Wars movies, other than the first three, are all trash. Fuck you if you think otherwise. Mandalorian was okay. Rogue One was a B. Solo was a B plus. I actually didn't see Solo, but I'm a prequel defender. I actually enjoy the prequels. I think they're flawed, they're flawed, but there's a lot more interesting stuff going on than there is in the Disney versions of the movies. And Andor was excellent. Andor is one of my favorite shows that came out this year. This 37th toaster is already on board with all my opinions here. Okay, shit. Before I go on, I gotta do that. I gotta do a tweet. Okay, I gotta let people know that Amanda is coming on the show at 2 p.m. Just one moment. Just talk amongst yourselves. Okay, done. Done. I did it. I did it, folks. I tweeted. Sometimes if you're a lurker, if you're a new community member, I do have a large platform on Twitter, but very rarely tweet that I'm actually live and doing the stream. Very rarely take advantage, for whatever reason, of my large Twitter following to actually let people know that this stream exists. Too much silence, thought I went deaf. I guess those are the moments where I need that music playing in the background. Not only do I need to use Twitter more to promote the stream, I'm trying to do TikTok again now. I'm trying to take TikTok seriously now, or as seriously as you can possibly take, TikTok. I'm trying to do a couple of those a week. I'm starting to blow up. I'm getting 4-digit plays on TikTok now. I'm turning into a TikTok celeb, like our friend Lolo. Did we decide against Sweet Rob tunes in the background? What I really need to figure out, Moist Owlets, and this is something that's so easy to do that I just have not done, is just play the music on a separate channel so it doesn't go to the VOD. Because often, it's good to have music in the background, and then when those dead air moments happen, there's music playing, and most people kind of enjoy it. But sometimes I take clips from the stream, and I don't want music playing. I like to put different music over there on TikTok, So I really need to kind of figure out how that works, and I can start just playing music in the background and not worrying about that. I will slub on TikToks. Good. I need to get to TikTok so I can prove to President Xi I'm one of the good ones. Well, this is what I'm talking about. You got Metal Dipshit asking us, aren't you worried about your data going to... I'm datter. I was like a Britishism. Aren't you worried about all your data going to China? That's what I'm telling people. It's like I want them to know that I'm on their side, and that when the takeover comes, I'm going to be there. They can rely on me to, put out some of the propaganda that they need. I can use my influencer status to try and get people on board. Where can I click to donate my data to the CPC? Even if they don't need it, I would just rather that they had it. Even if they don't need it, just here, take it. If there's anything in there that's helpful, good. If not, it's fine. That's the kind of deal I want to make. I downloaded it immediately the day they were trying to remove it from the store. I'm not going to let the man tell me what to do. There's some funny bits in there you might enjoy. That's right. If we get invaded, I have so many people I'm snitching on. We should come up with some kind of like thing. We need to put like a red flag on our doors or something. Maybe even something more subtle. So when the invasion happens, they show up. They're like, okay, these people are cool. We need to get in touch with someone from the CPC about this so we can be like, just be all, make sure we're on the same page. Like the PRC troops show up in your neighborhood, your suburban neighborhood, or wherever you live, and you're like, "Oh no, we're being invaded! This is so scary." He's right over there. You wouldn't believe the fucking stuff that this guy posts on Facebook. He's a total reactionary. You got to get rid of that guy. Oh no! Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't get me. This is so frustrating. This invasion. He's right there. He's at 3342 Elm. It's my neighbor Ted. Okay. Oh. I got lists. If you need more, I got a whole list inside. Do you need a coffee or a tea, a soda, a fizzy water? A clementine. I got apples. I can probably I can throw some stuff in the air fryer if you guys are hungry. This is gonna be me. Would you care for a Rain Total Body Fuel? Some hot water with a lemon. Maybe one of those warm towels. One of those steamed towels. You need one of those? It's got eucalyptus. It's got some eucalyptus on there. Very relaxing. We can introduce members of the PLA to our classic Canadian cuisine, mac and cheese with ketchup. Hell yeah, with a little pepper. Obviously. Everyone knows my preference with this. When it comes to mac and cheese, chopped. The towel is folded like a swan, exactly. This is how I'm going to be greeting our PRC liberators. Swan folded steamed eucalyptus towels for you. Chepo Mac House. That sounds good. Right? We're going to make sure that they know that we're one of the good ones. I should take this. I should just take this whole segment and just email it to the Chinese embassy in Montreal. I do, like I said, I do have a couple of Chinese people in the Chinese government that do follow me on Twitter. I am followed by the Chinese ambassador to Cuba. I should really reach out. Just to establish a relationship. Just to establish a relationship, you know? Not to do anything weird or anything, but just to be like, hey, hello, I'm here if you ever need anything. I'm happy for you, but that should be me. I agree that the Chinese ambassador to Cuba should follow you as well, Marina. President Xi, have you ever tried all-dressed chips? Excited for Tom's CPC propaganda arc. I would happily work for CGTN if I could get a gig with them. Happily. Working for an actually like competent, informative news network, that'd be nice. Imagine what kind of sick Chinese cuisine we'll finally have, though. It'll be like Chinese cooking demystified, but all those hard to get ingredients will be a lot easier to find. It's just a win-win. We get better food, we get better infrastructure, we get a rail system. What exactly is the problem? What are people so fucking concerned about? It's deeply unsettling to learn that CGTN English is owned by LaRouche cultists. I did not know that. What the hell? Yeah, okay, maybe China Daily. I don't have the Chen Waihua follow. I did get a Chen retweet, though, once. I did get a Chen retweet, which is a very exciting day in the history of this community. Maybe one day, future guest of the show. Who knows? A lifetime bitch is really one of the all-time best insults in any film, TV show, poem, song, newspaper column. It's just one of the all-time best turns of phrase. That and tell your son you lost. I love seeing these Chinese nationals having fun online. Like with the balloon when they were all leaning into the hysteria and they posted that trollish clip with the balloon in a dogfight with the jets. I love to see that shit. That's wonderful. That is just great. It was so funny seeing the reaction from the news being like, Chinese citizens are laughing at us on Chinese social media is erupting with all kinds of memes and jokes about our demented freakout over this fucking balloon. That was so great. The firewall isn't to protect Chinese netizens from us, it's to protect us from them. Yeah. We need it. Let me see if I can find the clip. I saw a specific clip that was like, they're laughing at us. I don't know if I can find it now. There's so much balloon coverage. There is so much balloon coverage. It's just ludicrous. Never forget what they took from us, the spy balloon. Oh, look at this spy balloon. I didn't think of another lyric to that before I started singing it. Yeah, it's gone, but way too soon. Look at this high altitude photograph. Interesting how the State Department has yet to offer a statement regarding the array or payload they fished out of the ocean. The thing is, they could never now admit that it's just a weather balloon, right? They could never admit that. Look, there's still...
Breaking news on this. A U.S. official says they believe the undercarriage of the balloon that housed...
They could never admit now, oh yeah, actually, that was actually not that big of a deal. Sorry about that. They could never say that now. Got to make up this balloon gap. That's right. Every time I do, it makes me swoon. They shot down a spy balloon just like they didn't blow up Nord Stream 2. I have holes in my brain.
Much of its surveillance equipment has been found largely intact. ABC's Jay O'Brien joins me
What
live
data are
from
you going to
Capitol
scrape
Hill
off
with more on
there?
this. Jay, this is big news now. Lawmakers received a classified briefing on the spy balloon yesterday. So what kind of reactions are you hearing, and how big is this discovery now that we're learning about?
Well, the discovery of that undercarriage is significant. That's the technology, that's the equipment that the balloon.
I'm sorry. It's just it's so stupid. Well, you see, that's the technology. Oh my God. I'm just imagining having to do this. You know, you go to J school and you do the whole song and dance to get put on ABC News, and you're getting sent to the halls of power in Washington. You'll notice the parts on the undercarriage of the balloon. That's what we in the balloon biz call the technology. Breaking this down for the viewers. Sad. I'd like some details about this undercarriage technology. Hey, buddy, I got your undercarriage technology right here. Huh? How about that? This powerful technology possibly related to weather. Average network viewer age 74. There it is.
Balloon was carrying. That's why the balloon was there in the first place. That undercarriage, all of the surveillance equipment and things of that nature. That reporting from our Martha Raddatz, who says again that what's being called the bus, because it's the size of multiple buses, looks like.
Why is it called the bus? Why is it called the bus if it's the size of multiple buses? As they clearly outlined many times during this coverage. It's the size of 3 buses. What a weird thing to compare it to. The bussies. Thank you, Lodane. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's funnier if it was just a spy balloon and our military let it get all the way across the country and it finished the mission before it was shot down. Yeah, I guess that's funny, but just the whole basic premise of like, what was this thing spying on? It's just taking pictures of a bunch of farmland. And like we talked about when they were covering this, all the news media that was showing this, well, it's so concerning because it's above these military bases. And as you can see from this map of Montana, I'll do it here in the blank space. As you can see in this map of Montana, here, those are the military bases, and those are what the evil spy balloon was looking at. It's like you're showing the map on TV, man. It's not that big a bunch of a mystery. No, but Red Scary, they did say that, though. Missile silos in Montana and Alaska. They were literally like, there's missile silos in Montana and Alaska. That's why we're concerned about it. Look, here's where they all are. Here's where they are. The military bases that are easily Googleable. Yeah. No, it was incredible. Like we were watching that last Friday, one week ago today. It was only 1 week ago. Feels like a lifetime. We were talking about this. It was just mind-boggling. The live coverage was legendary, Red Scary. It was a legendary episode of this program last week when we were covering this. It's not a mystery that the U.S. has these. There's no need for China to use a balloon. And as we've also repeatedly pointed out, they have, in fact, a number of satellites. If they want to take pictures of Montana, they can literally do that at any time. they can take pictures of Montana. You're like, they're mapping the United States. Like, they know what it looks like. Maps of the United States do, in fact, already exist. The things I miss because I'm being a responsible government employee. It's a pretty sad state of affairs when Red Scary's doing her job rather than tuning into my nonsense every single day. Yeah, the balloon spy path was just where the balloon would go in the wind. They're like, it's just a mystery. How did it? It's just a total mystery how this is happening. The wind is blowing it. That's what's going on. Communications data was collected was the ABC Newsline. Well, they're saying they're transmitting it in real time. They're not just transmitting the data to China. They're transmitting it in real time. President Xi himself has a little device, and he's getting the updates from the balloon. Everything going precisely according to schedule. As if China doesn't have access to Google Earth for a pretty up-to-date map of the U.S. It's, in fact, quite easy to find this information. They do know what the United States looks like. Have you considered these inscrutable, cruel Orientals don't want the usual maps, but want maps shot over the USA without consent? That's right. That makes it more devious when it's like this. Let's get through. It's only 45 seconds into this clip, and it's already broken my brain.
Has been spotted.
Kind of controlled the weather to make it go
intact,
that way.
and
Thank
it
you.
can be retrieved by U.S. teams. That is good news for U.S. intelligence officials. The other thing about this is you heard administration officials in Terry's package say that one of the reasons why
Here's them getting the balloon. The brave heroes. The brave heroes of the Coast Guard, the U.S. Fleet Forces, retrieving the balloon. God bless them.
Shoot that balloon down when they did, when it was off the coast of South Carolina, was A, because of fear of civilian casualties, but B, because they wanted to shoot it down in a place where they could retrieve that surveillance equipment and those
They couldn't retrieve it if it was over land. They had to do it like this.
To appease some Republicans who, as you heard in Terry's piece, say that the administration, they believe, waited too long, that this could have been shot down before it entered Alaska or at other parts in states like Montana that have remote areas. I will say there were Democrats who came out of those briefings yesterday who said that they feel the administration acted appropriately. There was one Republican, Mitt Romney, who also told reporters that he felt the administration, after he received that briefing, made the right decision.
Water is famously good for
Diana,
electronics.
there is bipartisan agreement on is that China would not have allowed any kind of U.S. surveillance device to be spotted by its people to travel.
Oh, no. Can you imagine if the U.S. spied on China? That would just be unthinkable. What, you're going to tell the U.S. spies on China? Next thing you're going to tell me they've militarily encircled China with military bases. Okay, Mr. Wacko conspiracy theorist. And it's funny because I know the United States would like to spy on China even more, but unfortunately had a couple of incidents with losing CIA officials and officers and analysts in undercover in China. Very unfortunate for them. I'm sure they would like to spy on them even more. Unfortunately, some of their analysts met with some unfortunate accidents in that part of the world. Very, very sad state of affairs. Remember the satellite photos that proved Uyghur genocide? Of course, yeah, these buildings that we've taken photos of with our fucking satellites. As you can see, these very scary looking buildings are where the genocide is happening. What if the balloon came from the Wuhan wet market? Ben, I know you're referencing the actual coverage on the day, but just in case anyone thinks Ben is exaggerating, someone did actually say that on Fox News. That's where the discourse was about this balloon. What if the damn balloon came from Wuhan? That's not an exaggeration. No, that is not an exaggeration whatsoever. Could be filled with fentanyl. Exactly.
Over its country for the duration that the United States government did.
So, Jay, there's some division over how this was all handled, but Congress was unanimous in condemning China over this, calling this a violation of U.S. sovereignty. So what now? What's Congress's role when it comes to holding China accountable?
Well, that House resolution yesterday, like you said, a rare moment of bipartisanship. I can tell you there is bipartisan agreement on the Hill in terms of confronting China. But that House resolution, it's a rap on the knuckles, right? It doesn't carry much weight diplomatically. China pushing back against that resolution nonetheless. The question confronting lawmakers is what you just asked, which is what do they do from here? They can provide oversight. They can push the Biden administration to confront China in different ways. We know there is a new House Select Committee that's going to to look at China, going to look at the Chinese Communist Party. So seeing what they come up with is an open question in this Congress. And the other thing in all of this is providing some kind of oversight.
Oh yeah, Jon Stewart was going on about Wuhan on Colbert's show. Of course it was a lab leak because in Wuhan there's a Wuhan coronavirus laboratory. Yeah, that's where they study these diseases, you dumb fuck. That's where they identified it. Yes, at the institute that they put in there for that exact reason, because they've dealt with those kinds of diseases before, sir.
Not just on the U.S.-China relationship, but on the United States intelligence community and what the intelligence community is doing as it relates to China. We've heard lawmakers say that they have a renewed interest in that, given, of course, the events of the last few days with the spy balloon.
And Jay, meanwhile, in
They're
battle,
still just saying
Congressman
spy
George
balloon
Santos
as well,
is
right?
speaking
Spy
out in a
balloon,
new
spy
interview
balloon.
with Newsmax, saying he would never have gone to Congress if he had.
Yes, I remember when Jon Stewart very correctly, and in one of the most actually relevant things that he's done for a long time, correctly identified the anti-Semitism in Harry Potter. And then when she and others got mad, he's just like, no, I'm so sorry. There you go, John. Good job. Good job, sir. One of my many beefs. We all remember my beef with Jon Stewart. We all remember the epic beef that I had with the former host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart. Where were you when Rob's beef with Jon Stewart was going on?
Lied about his college education. How's that going over?
Now they're going to
Well,
George,
that was the
to
takeaway
Santos.
out of that interview, where Santos saying that he, in his district in Long Island, he wouldn't have been gotten the nomination. Again,
These are the people that blew up a pipeline saying China bad over this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We would never do anything like that. We would never dream of anything like that. Oh, America. What a country. What a country. Like I was saying, it's like this is just such palpable dying empire vibes. Off of all of this, the freak out over the balloon. And just to remind everyone, in 30 minutes, we've got our friend Radio Free Amanda to come on to talk about this whole situation with the balloon, with the constant media hysteria and demonization campaign about China, debt traps. Radio Free Amanda will be joining the show in 30 minutes' time to talk us through all this. And remember, we got a couple new followers and chatters and lurkers today. So just remind everyone as well that if you do enjoy this content, oh the shit, DM's open there. That's not good. You're seeing all kinds of sensitive. Now you're spying on me. You're seeing all kinds of sensitive material there. Oh my goodness. If you do enjoy this content, folks, please subscribe. It's $5 per month or totally free with your Twitch Prime account. Get all the emotes. This is the very best emotes available on this platform. In my humble opinion, the very best community, the very best Discord server. It's all just very good. It's all just excellent. And I would love to have you as part of the community. And every subscription helps me keep this content on the air. It helps support the commentary that I do right here on Twitch every single day. Please subscribe to TRRS, or you can even gift subs to move up into the...
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Thank you, Metal Dipshit, for the 5 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Metal Dipshit. Move up and down. It's one of the best. Move up and down in Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system. Featuring highly elite members like Freak Museum and Sean Meat and Metal Dipshit. I would say Lodane, but Lodane is comfortable operating in the chaos zone. That's where Lodane operates, and she's very happy there. That was a mouthful. I'm getting better at doing it. I'm getting better at doing the description. Twitch's only two-dimensional triangle-shaped trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system. And it's not a cult. And it's not a pyramid scheme. It's very clearly outlined as being two-dimensional. It's two-dimensional and triangle-shaped. Nothing weird going on here, folks. Nothing weird at all. Nothing weird at all going on in this community. Don't worry about it. But if you bring some of your friends or family members into the community, that automatically raises you a level in the two-dimensional friendship triangle system. Okay? And you know what? If your family has a problem with you, if they look at the credit card receipts, they see you're spending all your time in this channel, donating to this channel, and they say, what's going on with that? This doesn't sound like something you should be a part of. It sounds kind of sinister. It sounds kind of cultish. That's what we call a toxic person. You don't want those kind of people in your life. You don't want those people in your life, folks. They don't want you to be happy? They don't want you to have friends? Why are they so controlling? Don't you find that a little troubling? I do. Oh, you're not allowed to hang out in a community of friends. Okay, well, thank you. What are you, my fucking boss? To me, family is supposed to be supportive and not repressive. That's just me. Fortune favors the brave. That's right. That's right. What are you, some kind of pussy? You're afraid to invest your precious $5 little. No, I'm not going to do that. If you were a real man, I'm going through all the confidence man schemes, all the catchphrases. If you were a real man, you'd subscribe to this show. Okay. All right. So we got when's it? So we got another 24 minutes. So obviously not going to watch any more big videos or anything like that. I'll see is there more. I have a pair. Everyone tells me, but I'm not a man. What makes a man, Mr. Lebowski? Is it being willing to do the right thing, no matter the consequences? I can't remember the line exactly. It's something like that. Oh, that and a pair of testicles. That's true. Dude is canceled for that. I think dude would have no problem kind of updating his understanding of gender, frankly. I don't think, it was 1997. I think if you talk to the dude today, he'd be totally, yeah, man, like he would get it. I don't think the dude would be transphobic. The dude would not be worried about people's gender or how they want to live their lives. I feel confident in that, despite his kind of problematic language there. I got more. Let's just look at this more of this dog shit.
The Biden administration learns more about the Chinese spy balloon that entered the U.S. airspace. The State Department has now begun sharing more information with dozens of countries around the world.
Let's just look at this absolute brain-melting nonsense. Why not?
NATO Secretary General on China's surveillance balloon program.
I think along with senior administration officials are on the Hill this week, and we already shared information with dozens of countries around the world, both from Washington and through our embassies. We're doing so because the United States was not the only target of this broader program, which has violated the sovereignty of countries across 5 continents.
Secretary Blinken added that the United States is learning more by the hour as the intel community continues to analyze the information gathered while observing.
More like the lack of intelligence community with some of this stuff.
That's been recovered. U.S. officials tell
Yes,
NBC
me.
News that the administration is expected to share some of this declassified information.
I'm going to go and get an
as
Advil. Just
early
chill out and
as
watch this
tomorrow.
video. I'll be
So
back in
joining me
one
now
sec.
Is NBC News' global security reporter Dan DeLuce and Bonnie
Bring
Lin,
NATO
the
in on
director
this.
of the China Power Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Dan, let me start with the extent of this program. And it does seem as if, let me ask you this. Has the U.S. military gone back and realized some UFOs were actually Chinese balloons? Or have they been withholding some of this information from civilian leaders?
I don't think there's any evidence that information was withheld from civilian leaders. It's an open question. I think more the real question is, did the military and the intelligence community fail here? Did they somehow miss this? Was it a failure of imagination? The Pentagon today pushed back on that at a press conference, and the press secretary said, absolutely not. This is not an intelligence failure.
How is it not? I mean, I just don't, like,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, hey, they now know in hindsight that some of these, I mean, I guess they're not admitting failure here?
It's a question. It's a big question, I think, and it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, some people will tell you here at the Pentagon and elsewhere, listen, we're configured to look for missiles speeding towards us or a bomber aircraft. And there are a lot of objects in the sky, and there are a lot of balloons or debris, and this was seen as static. And so that might be a partial excuse, but I think this has been a serious wake-up call. And they have
The
many
balloon gap.
questions to answer.
We got to close the
Why
balloon
this
gap,
was
people.
not
No matter how much
identified
money it
earlier. And
takes,
also,
billions,
what was the Biden
trillions. It doesn't matter. You got to close that balloon gap. It's the most
response
important
the
thing.
first time they did spot a balloon.
You don't need a
earlier
house.
in this administration.
You don't need to
And
live
we
in a
don't have
house.
much information about that either.
America,
How
do
many
you want America to be
balloons
safe from the
have been
balloons, or
around
don't you?
all 5 continents, like, how many are up at one time? Do we have an idea of, like, how big this fleet of balloons is that China has?
No, and these are all questions that reporters are asking. I think, though, there is an effort to try to declassify more information. That is what's happening right now. And if they're able to do that and share more details about this, what they're calling a global surveillance program, and they say it violates all these countries' airspaces, that could be kind of a public relations, a political propaganda coup in a way. Remember when we had all that intel declassified before the Russian invasion and afterward? We may be getting to another kind of episode like that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's my understanding that more intelligence.
It's approximately
officials now
99 red
believe
balloons, sir.
That, hey, leaning on declassifying actually is a good thing, not a bad thing. I mean, given the success of declassifying Russian.
Honest question, like, who is watching this? Like, we're watching this to make fun of it, right? Who's watching this? Who's watching this Chuck Todd analysis about this and being like, you know? Isn't that depressing to think of the millions of people? My in-laws, Rob, tell me about it. My parents every night. Isn't it weird to think about? People that are watching all this coverage being like, you know? Jesus, that's fucking grim. This is why the Twitch algorithm needs to look kindly on this stream again so we can get this kind of analysis out to larger numbers of people. I'm trying to deprogram people. I'm trying to unplug people. Meanwhile, it was just exposed that Joe Biden is an eco-terrorist. I mean, there's more coverage of the possible theoretical fantasy land negative consequences of this balloon. Was it filled with fentanyl? Was it a bioterror attack? Is it doing a thermal map of the U.S.? What's it doing? There's been more speculation on that than there's been coverage of the possible, like, Chernobyl level disaster that is unfolding in Ohio right now with that train derailment. The news is just like, it doesn't look like anything to me. They're not even talking about it. It's barely even making the news. This is going to turn out to be probably one of the worst environmental disasters in American history. And they're spending more time speculating about the possible contents of this fucking balloon than they are talking about this actual real thing that is currently going on. It was dropping sensors. Like, that's not good. That's not very good at all. They just moved to a weather laser. Yeah, someone sent that. They're doing satellite lasers to test for air pollution. Chinese space lasers. That's the next level of freak out we're going to get. Excuse me. What's terrifying to me is that I haven't seen my parents since the holidays, and I'm terrified that when I go see them in a week, they're going to think it's scary what the Chinese did to the Americans with the balloon. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm sorry, James. I think my own parents listen to me enough that maybe they don't get freaked out about this kind of stuff. But it's really true though that train derailment has barely been in the news. Like, I'm seeing people talking about what actual chemicals are being spilled here. You got journalists being arrested at the press conference trying to report on this. Like, I think it seems like, just from the way that it seems like it's being covered up, that it's probably way, way worse than they're letting on. If you did nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide from the all-seeing Chinese spy balloons. This is what I've been saying. And they're literally speculating what's going on with this fucking balloon more than they are covering this like actual massive possible environmental disaster. Their deranged, diseased brains are fantasizing all this Tom Clancy nonsense about a balloon. And they're ignoring the massive environmental disaster that's unfolding in their own country. Which is also as a result of like anti-worker activity and corporate negligence, as my friend Jordan Yule has been covering. Maybe they're trying to cover it. But since it's in East Palestine, Ohio, all the filters that newspapers are falsely catching and sending it to spam. That's true. Yeah, we don't say that word here. But it's Palestine, Ohio. Even that. We don't want that. Don't even say that. It's very scary to our Zionist colleagues when you talk about East Palestine, Ohio. It scares them. It's very intimidating. You know, those Ohioans from Palestine are really up to some dangerous terrorism. They probably caused the train derailment in the first place with their violent activities over there. The U.S. government just sees a Palestine. They're like, I have to fuck with this. Pressing the train derailment button. Yeah, let's watch more of this nonsense.
Intelligence. Do you expect that we might see more?
I do. I think that Bill Burns, the director of the CIA, and Avril Haines do believe that was the way to go, to declassify some of that intel. Mm-hmm. And this is really kind of good old-fashioned political warfare that we used to see during the Cold War. And I think this could be a real opportunity for the White House to show the world this is what China has been up to. And by the way, do you want these balloons flying over your country? So it is similar.
It's a powerful symbol. The idea, Big Brother is literally lording over your country. Anyway, could be fascinating. Dan DeLuce with that reporting.
It could be fascinating, but no, it won't be.
Bring in Bonnie Lynn. Bonnie, you do this for a living, trying to figure out what China's thinking. What are they thinking right now?
I
Maybe
think
they're
that
thinking
is the
they
most
wanted
difficult
to check
question
out
we're
what was
trying
going
to
on with the
figure out
weather.
right
I don't know.
now. We do know that China wanted
The
Secretary
China
Blinken's
Power
trip to China to occur.
Project, CSIS. The China Power Project. Part of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Again, you always got to bring on these think tankies. You got to bring, if you want to understand China, if you want to get analysis of China on your mainstream media program, you got to bring on the think tankies. What do you know? Focusing exclusively on security, Taiwan. Very surprising. What fucking demonic corporations are bankrolling this? Financial information. From 2021, $43 million operating revenue for CSIS. Coming mostly from corporate grants and contributions. Foundation grants come from the government as well, from the U.S. government, from individual contributions. Who are these donors, though? I want to know who the donors are. Every fucking time. Every time. And again, the idea that these people are biased is just not ever, that's not ever discussed, right? Of course, you just bring on your expert. You bring on your expert from the U.S. government and weapons manufacturing industry sponsored China Bad network. That's all, right? That's when you want to have an expert on there. That's who you call. Our donors. Corporate donors. Oh, look, Northrop Grumman. Look at that. Bank of America, BP, Chevron, Citigroup, ExxonMobil, Facebook, of course, General Atomics, JP Morgan Chase, Lockheed Martin, the Lockheed Martin Corporation, Saudi Aramco. The Saudis are in on this as well, giving big contributions. Boeing, General Dynamics, Raytheon. Look at that. There's Raytheon in there as well. Right? And it never occurs to us, never occurs to any of these journalists to be like, no, of course we have a free press, right? Of course, this is called the marketplace of ideas. And when you want to talk about China and what China's doing and what they're thinking, you bring on an expert from a think tank that's completely funded by the arms manufacturing industry and the US government. Simple. Government donors. U.S. government giving $500,000 and up. Japan, government of Taiwan, the UAE, Denmark, Norway, Qatar, Republic of Korea, giving a donation. The government of Canada, getting in there with a cheap donation from Canada. All our friends in the rules-based international order, all getting in on funding this information. Yeah, this is who you bring on. This is who you bring on in these moments to have their expertise, to share their expertise with your audience of like all our parents and gams and meemaws and peepaws and whoever, our brother-in-laws, our sister-in-laws, our cousins, our coworkers. This is who you bring on to inform these folks about these important issues. It's literally every time, by the way, every time there's a news story about this and they bring on someone from one of these fucking demonic think tanks, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing and just click on the think tank, go and look at who funds it, and you realize exactly what's going on. Of course it's the CBC maneuver because they're just stenographers for the security state. A lot of the time they don't even have the degree of separation. They're just like, oh, let's just bring on the spy guy, whatever. Why do they never ask for the expert opinion of the Russo Institute of Western Destabilization? Who better to ask about the Chinese spy balloons? Relic, all I ask for any of these news programs is that you have it. Are you fair and balanced or not? Do we have a marketplace of ideas or not? Do we have free speech? Do we have a free press or not? If you absolutely have to bring on one of these like think tank ghouls sponsored by the arms industry to break this stuff down, I think you should also bring on a representative, whether it's me or someone else. Bring on a representative from another think tank like the Russo Institute for Western Destabilization to at least get the different perspective out there, and then you can let people make up their own minds. Isn't that what the marketplace of ideas is? Isn't that what it is? You show people a few different viewpoints about something, and then they can kind of like, the viewers can then decide who's right and who's full of shit. Why is that so much to ask? Why is that so much to ask, folks? Our expert today is Red Rob, communist and Chinese sleeper agent. I thought that's what the marketplace of ideas was, but no, it's not. It's like, we'll bring on a think tank person sponsored by the arms manufacturing, and we'll bring on like a member of the intelligence community, and we'll call it a day. Does China have a USA power project? It should. And I would be, if anyone from China is watching, anyone involved in the Chinese state or Chinese media, I'd be thrilled to go on it. If you want me to talk about Canada and what Canada's doing, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to send, as an emissary of the Russo Institute of Western Destabilization, I would be more than happy to go on your news program and talk all about how President Xi needs to send Shenzhou fighter jets to liberate our country and finally maybe build some infrastructure in our country. We need development. We should be a part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And I'd be more than happy to make that case. Like, personally, I would say all these think tank person opinions should actually not be allowed on TV. Oh, of course not. Of course not. For sure. Let's see what else she has to say, and then we'll get to our interview with Amanda. She's coming on in just 5 minutes.
And they wanted that to be successful as to help set up what is likely to be potentially two meetings between.
Excuse me, but I'm sorry. Like, when you're on TV and you're just framed as some expert from a think tank, I'm sorry, but you should be fucking clear to the audience who is paying this person's salary. This is not an unbiased person. This is not just some random expert. This is not an unbiased person. This person is paid by the U.S. government and the fucking arms manufacturers to manufacture a specific narrative about this. And that is completely kept from the audience of these programs who just see, oh, an expert. She's from an official sounding think tank. I better listen to what they have to say. If you work for a defense contractor, I should not be hearing your perspective as though it's legitimate. No. And in fact, you should be in jail.
Between President Biden and potential Chinese President Xi Jinping, both on the margins of the G20 as well as potentially on the margins of the APEC. So it's really puzzling why we're seeing the balloon come to intrude into the airspace of continental U.S. right before this. And if I could add a little bit, from what I understand is the intrusion of this Chinese spy balloon is much longer than any of the prior intrusions.
Lula should be vaccinating you right now.
So it's a bit puzzling why this is occurring right now. We don't quite have the full answer at this point.
And I guess that's the question, was this there's sort of two types of intentional acts, right? Meaning there's an intentional act where maybe one part of the Chinese government doesn't realize what another part of the Chinese government's doing, but it was certainly intentional by that other part. And the other is Xi knew exactly what was going on, and he wanted to test our reaction. Mm-hmm. Do you have a sense of which side that this may fall?
From the evidence I'm seeing, both are possible. So
you don't know.
Back up a little bit. So
you're just making shit up.
We do know that these balloons have been occurring, and they have been sent.
You're just making shit up, lady.
Across the globe, as we mentioned earlier, across to 40 different countries across 5 different continents. So it's probably from at least China's leadership perspective, a program that's already been occurring, and they may have, and we don't know this. It's possible that she could have been briefed. This has happened before. So the question is, did he know about this specific incident right before it occurred, or did he have to sign that off? That's what we don't know. What we do know is as soon as the administration coalesced on what to do about this balloon and...
You don't know. You don't know what the hell's going on, lady. Let's close this. We're going to get ready to bring on our friend, Radio Free Amanda is going to be joining us in just a sec. Let's get my Zoom going here. Wow, okay, what am I... Okay, good. Good. We've got Amanda coming on in just a moment. She'll be here in just a moment. That's why, instead of leaving dead air, I'm going to kind of just randomly say things until she gets here. You know, this is live broadcasting, folks. Sometimes it's difficult to work the timing out. Sometimes it's difficult to work the timing out, and you get a moment where you're waiting for something to happen and it hasn't happened yet. You know, it's no big deal. It's like the old saying, thieves believe everyone steals, and Americans with their hundreds of years of atrocities and terrible conscience cannot comprehend other nations aren't as insidious and destructive as the USA itself. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to the whole backlash with like the whole land back idea. We can't give land back to indigenous people because then they're going to do genocide against us. And like, well, that's, we can debate about whether we support that or not. Obviously, I don't, but that's not what that means. We're projecting our own violence and our own depravity onto other cultures. Luckily, Rob's a professional. That's right. I stray professional broadcast. Over here. Professional broadcaster is what I said. I don't know how the rest of it goes. Yeah, they'll have the missile silos. And I support that. We should give nukes to indigenous people. I don't see any issue with that, frankly. I see no problem with that. That was the Wii theme. That's right. I used it in a TikTok. I used like a acoustic guitar version of it in a TikTok, and it's been stuck in my head. It is a good slogan, yeah. Give nukes to indigenous people. Who says no? This is the exact kind of viewpoint that's being suppressed in our media, folks. This is why I'm not allowed to opine on these issues on CBC or any of these mainstream media institutions. That's why they don't ask me to come on there. They do not want them. Well, okay, well, it is. I mean, it is a joke, first and foremost, and I'm simply saying we should offer. Maybe they don't want them, and that's fine. Does it really hurt to offer, though? It's just to be polite, just to be nice. If they change their mind, then they can, they can do that. Okay, here's our friend Amanda, Radio Free Amanda. Very much looking forward to talking to her. Here she is. Hello, Amanda. Hello, are you there? We see Amanda. You seem to be muted. Do you hear me? You don't hear me? I'm going to chat.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if the audio is coming from my microphone or my computer, but
I am hearing an echo. There does appear to be an echo.
Because I have your Twitch show in the background.
Okay, yeah, you want to mute that.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That seems to be good. The mic sounds good, I think.
Okay.
Cool.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's great to have you.
I'm a fan of your show. I usually have it on in the background when I'm working.
Oh, that's so nice. So. That's wonderful. That makes me happy to hear. I'm really happy to have you on. I've been wanting to have you as a guest on the show for a while. And I think this is a great moment to do it, Amanda, because considering the absolute mind-numbing lunacy we've been seeing in the media lately.
Yeah. When you asked me to come on your show last week, it was like last Friday or something. And I said I could come on today, Friday, which is like a week from then. And you said that like you wanted to talk about the spy balloon. And, in my mind, I was like, oh, the spy balloon will be like old news by then. It's like a week from now. But here we are, alas, still talking about the spy balloon 7 days after the fact.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is a good way to start this discussion because, like, as you know, if you do ever watch this show, you know that the sort of like new Cold War and the way our media, the kind of hysteria that our media whips up against China. It's been one of the main things that I've kind of focused on since doing this show, and it feels like it's something that's kind of gotten exponentially more insane as the years have gone by that I've been doing this. But like when I first heard about this balloon story, I think it was like Thursday night, and even with the coverage that I've done on this, I've talked about this a lot. I've thought about it a lot. I totally underestimated how crazy the freak out was going to be over this balloon. Like I really didn't think that it was going to be that big of a deal. And I was genuinely surprised, even with my knowledge of how our media loves to freak out about these very things. I was genuinely surprised by the absolute hysteria about this. I guess from what you were saying, like, were you surprised as well from this?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like anything that happens, they'll use it as a way to kind of paint China in this like terrible light of how like it's operating spy operations against the US. But I really did not expect the like sheer level of hysteria around it. I mean, according to Chinese officials, it was a weather balloon. And to me, that seems, logical. It seems believable. It just looked like a small balloon drifting in the air.
It was the size of 3 buses, though. That's quite large.
And it was also like another classic example of the U.S. projecting what it often does to its own citizens and to other countries onto another country, onto another enemy nation, right? Because A few years ago, The Guardian came out with this exclusive report about how the Pentagon was testing mass surveillance balloons across the Midwest. And these balloons have the ability to, follow vehicles for several miles. And then I think at one point, the US government was also testing surveillance balloons to use on Russia and China. But if you looked at the pictures, these were like massive. They didn't look like the small balloon that this Chinese balloon was. And like the spectacle around shooting this tiny balloon down with a missile and just the nonstop coverage of it. And then I thought it was dying down until I logged onto Twitter yesterday and I saw that there was like an actual US Senate hearing over the balloon.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, maybe this is an article that we can talk about, but I woke up this morning and there was this Guardian article. I'll send it to you in the chat. About how China is using this spy balloon drama to quote unquote drum up nationalistic fervor, which is another classic case of US projection, right? Because we're on week 2 almost of 24/7 nonstop coverage over this stupid balloon.
Yeah. Well, yeah, talking about projection. I mean, that's the amazing thing that I was wondering, people were wondering, like, what kind of intelligence can China possibly be getting from this balloon? Mm-hmm. And it's like, as we've been talking about, it's just taking a bunch of aerial pictures over the United States, which are very easy to do with the numerous satellites that are in the air. We were talking about how during the coverage of this, they were freaking out about the ICBMs and the nuclear weapons and the military bases, while also showing the location of these bases on maps on the news while they were talking about it. But I think if you could talk about one like concrete piece of intelligence that China or any other nation is getting over this, it's like seeing how completely deranged and paranoid America is over everything that it possibly perceives as one of these kind of provocations. It was not a moment, even though they shot as you point out, they shot the balloon down with a missile. It was not a country that came across looking very strong or very confident on the global stage. This looks like a paranoid, dying empire. And perhaps that was the intelligence that China or whatever other country was taking away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can take a couple minutes to talk about this Guardian article because it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, so here it is.
Yeah, China using spy balloon drama to drum up nationalistic fervor, written by Verna Yu. And of course, these kinds of articles they always like solicit some reactionary Chinese American to write it, to give it an air of legitimacy.
Sure, yeah. Is she a think tanky as well?
I didn't look into her
because we were just talking about that, and I know you've written about that as well, that anytime they want to bring on an expert to talk about what China is thinking or what they're doing, it's every single time connected to someone from one of these demonic think tanks funded by Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and all these defense contractors.
Oh, for sure. So I just Googled Verna Yu. She is not a think tanky, but she's a freelance journalist, and she has a PhD in history, specializing in the intellectual history of contemporary China. So she's an academic, which I feel like is just like a think tanky with more steps.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. A lot of times what the US media does is they'll often enlist either like a Chinese American person or some kind of specialist from a think tank, and you dig into their annual reports and look at their sources of funding, and they're often funded by like these big tech companies that would benefit from the opening up of China and China's technology sector to them, like Google, for instance, or They're often funded a lot of times, as you said, by defense contractors like Raytheon and Boeing. I'm thinking specifically of like the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, which was like one of the primary purveyors of this Uyghur genocide narrative, which has largely died down at this point, but they were really pushing for it.
There's every single news story that was about written about that. They were one of the primary sources on it. It's amazing. We've looked over some of those stories as well from the Washington Post to the AP as well that have like gone to Xinjiang to report on this story and been like, yeah, it doesn't seem like there's really anything going on anymore, but it's still very sinister and scary though, and you should really be alarmed by, it's really laughable the way that's kind of collapsed.
Yeah. But if you look at their sources of the funding, ASPI, they're funded by the a huge percentage of their funding comes from the Australian Department of Defense, like 47%. The rest is funded by the U.S. State Department and the U.S. Department of Defense, and of course the usual actors like Raytheon, Boeing, defense contractors. But yeah.
So what specifically about this story though it caught your attention about the nationalistic fervor that it's drumming up?
Yeah. I mean, just the way this article is framed, I feel like China has it's been really restrained in the response to this as they usually are. And it's really like, again, the US that, is constantly escalating stuff like this. And like holding a fucking Senate hearing, canceling diplomatic missions there. Like, I think, like someone from Biden's administration was supposed to
Blinken was supposed to go. Yeah.
Blinken was supposed to go, and they canceled the trip over a fucking balloon. And just this general hysteria over it. But it's accusing China of doing something that the US is currently doing themselves. And it's a way of, kind of trying to obscure, like US imperialist policy by deflecting its own crimes onto its enemy nation.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that the US won't use to drum up nationalistic fervor. It's one of their favorite pastimes. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting as well because like the US also refuses to like look at their own behavior and how that's contributing to both nationalistic sentiment in China and elsewhere, but also anti-American sentiment. I was speaking with Vijay Prashad about this a couple weeks ago and talking about how there really is like a growing strain of kind of anti-American thought within China. And it's not really surprising, like in reaction to like the constant belligerence and the constant provocations. And like whether you're talking about, this narrative about Xinjiang, whether you're talking about the Hong Kong protest, the endless hand wringing about that, or Taiwan, Pelosi visiting Taiwan despite the Chinese specifically clearly saying that they would consider it a provocation and a violation of the anti-China policy. And that's the other thing we were pointing out when you talk about this balloon. As much as Americans were terrified by the possibility that this balloon was like taking pictures of Montana farmland, refused to acknowledge that China is militarily encircled by U.S. military bases. And it's the way that like any reaction to that is always framed as being belligerent or being aggressive. And just in the context of this massive hysterical push about this to demonize China and make sure that American citizens are scared and angry about this country, it's not really surprising that does have a reaction in China or wherever else that becomes a target of these kinds of media narratives or political narratives, that it does drum up nationalistic fervor. It's kind of a normal response, I think, to being kind of under siege like that.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this kind of Cold War hysteria, it serves a purpose within the US too, right? Like, I don't know if you watched Biden's State of the Union a couple nights ago, but
I did, yeah.
It was pretty long and it covered like a broad range of topics, right? But at the end, he brought up China and the threat that China like supposedly poses to the US. And Biden was like very explicit in saying, if China threatens our sovereignty, then we will do everything we can to protect our country. And I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Because as you just said, it's the US that is completely encircling China militarily. It's the US that has 750 military bases around the world. How many military bases does China have, like outside of China? I think one in Djibouti.
Yeah, and we were even talking about that when they were doing the coverage of this balloon, talking about China's illegal military bases in the South China Sea, while then completely ignoring America's own military bases surrounding the country, or promoting it, talking about, oh, by the way, and also, while on the one hand we're hand wringing about China having, you know, 1 or 2 military bases, we're also talking about in a positive light the fact that the United States is opening 4 new military bases in the Philippines right now. And this is just taken as a total given that we should find one of these things totally acceptable and fine, and find one unacceptable and scary.
Yeah, and I made this point before, is that I mean, the purpose of kind of driving up this hysteria around China and always presenting it as you know, like this authoritarian government, this totalitarian society that we should always be afraid of, is for the purpose of, you know, as the contradictions of capitalism are sort of heightening in the US and things are getting really bad, like homelessness is increasing, you know, millions of Americans don't have health care, inflation is crazy because, you know, corporations are driving up food prices in order to collect like a higher profit, people don't have jobs. This China threat is a way for the US government to kind of point to this like other and, you know, say, you know, like, as bad as it gets here, we will never be like them. We will never be them. And it acts as a foil through which, you know, like people feel better about living in the United States because, you know, even though things are crumbling here, we will never be China.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's another form of propping up this kind of American exceptionalism.
Yeah. Well, you see it in Canada as well. A lot of people that kind of fetishize this idea of the specific idea of Western liberal democracy and suggest that that's the only possible system that is democratic or representative in any way. And anything outside of that, whether it's China or anywhere else, is automatically authoritarian, while completely ignoring the role that our own sort of liberal democracies play in maintaining this dictatorship of capital and having this political system that's completely bought and paid for by these big powerful lobbies and monopolies and corporate interests. And then suggest that, yeah, of course we have a more democratic country just because we're able to pull the lever for the blue team or the red team every single year, rather than having a single party system that, you know, builds infrastructure and actually does things for people that live in the country.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people here in the US and Canada, they have like a very, I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it infantile, but like very naive understanding.
I can call it infantile. That's fine.
It's just like a very naive understanding of what democracy is. Like democracy is, you know, voting for a new person every 4 years or whatever. It doesn't matter if districts have been like redlined to the point where Republicans can pretty much guarantee a victory. It doesn't matter if the candidates you're choosing come from the same revolving door of corporate lawyers every year. It doesn't matter that, you know, like no matter what party you're electing from, they are, you know, they collect a ton of donations from corporate PACs. And so you can pretty much like bet that they're going to vote in favor of, you know, certain legislation that benefits corporations. Like we're always going to have forever war in some country or another because the defense contractors have millions of dollars to spend to throw at, lawmakers in Congress to vote in legislation for their favor. You know, we're always going to, we're not going to have, we can't have Medicare for all because healthcare corporations have millions of dollars to donate to lawmakers in Congress to vote against that.
Yeah.
But
Not
as
even to
long as
people
you
in
can
Congress,
vote,
but like in the media as well. Like the media is held up by these same people that fetishize this kind of version of Western liberal democracy, and they hold up our free press as another example of why we're democratic and not authoritarian. Our press, which is owned and operated by all these same special interests that own all the politicians as well. You know,
absolutely. And then there are a lot of people like in the US and journalists in the US who again accuse China and Russia of whatever, like the media that comes out of there, to be state affiliated. But I just saw like an op-ed in the Washington Post last night written by this Syrian American guy, again, another reactionary person in the diaspora, like called on to basically parrot the foreign policy of the US government. This guy worked over a decade in the US State Department, and he wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post basically saying how we shouldn't lift sanctions on Syria, and how lifting sanctions on Syria won't help the people, the victims of the earthquake. Yeah. And this guy literally worked in the State Department for over a decade, and he is given space in what's considered free press, the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos. And that is considered free press and not state-affiliated media.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. But of course, we have to always respect these lived experiences, though. These lived experiences from these think tankies and State Department people that want to make these kind of claims using their identity as kind of a shield.
They use their identity as a shield, and they are the most vocal about it, because obviously there are like people in the Chinese diaspora or the Syrian diaspora who believe like the exact opposite of what they believe. But it's just that you don't hear from them because their opinions don't align with the US State Department. So they have like more of a fear for their safety, and they don't have the backing of like university affiliations, or they don't have media links like a lot of these other people do. They don't get asked to be fellows in these think tanks where they talk about these subjects. And like when you talk about, Joe Biden in his speech referencing China and wondering, framing China as being like a threat to American sovereignty, which I don't think is the case. But what China is a threat to is America's hegemony and their economic hegemony over the entire world. And that's what really, the inescapable conclusion that I've come to following this story over the last couple of years is that's the fundamental driver of all this hysteria. It has nothing to do with human rights or democracy or authoritarianism or what have you. It's entirely based on these economic reasons and the fact that China is now getting to a point where it's becoming kind of a competing hegemon. And there's people in the United States that are just they realize the extent to which they're losing their grip on this kind of global power. They see China replacing them as the top trade partner in Western Europe, in Africa, in these other places. And that's what it's about. It's not about any of these high-minded ideas that they like to talk about. But of course, when you talk about, China and trade and the Belt and Road Initiative, you have some like sort of ultra leftists in the West who will then say, well, they're just doing imperialism. They're doing debt trap diplomacy. They're doing debt trap diplomacy. Trade
in
is
Africa.
Imperialism now.
Exactly.
Like bilateral.
That's what imperialism is when you
trade
trade with other countries. That's right. But this is something you've been writing about recently, right? This myth of this debt trap diplomacy as it pertains to China and the Belt and Road. Do you want to just talk a little bit about how you've been framing that in your writing? Yeah. You raised the point that China does present a threat to the US in the form of competition. And it's forming a lot of relationships in Africa right now.
And the U.S. sees that as a threat, but China, China sees it as mutually beneficial. If a developed Africa is good for Chinese business, so they've been investing in Africa and granting a lot of loans for infrastructure because, Africa has been underdeveloped by imperialism and colonialism for like hundreds of years, right? Yeah. So how do you develop without infrastructure? And the US is very, very threatened by that. And the US has like a very paternalistic relationship with Africa in the first place. It's constantly telling African leaders like telling them like what to do, what's good for them. And I kind of want to read a quote from Antony Blinken when he was speaking to the Young African Leaders Initiative in April of 2021. He said, "We're not asking anyone to choose between the US or China, but I would encourage you to ask those tough questions, to dig beneath the surface, to demand transparency, and to make informed choices about what is best for you and your countries. If someone is coming along and saying, I'm going to invest a lot of money in your country, but it's a loan, so that means you have a debt and you're going to have to pay it back someday. And if that debt is too great and you can't pay it back, then I'm going to own the asset in question." I'm talking about China and debt trap diplomacy, right?
Talk about projection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk about projection. And, the way that I've been framing this is that, again, it's another example of the US projecting what it does onto China, but it accuses China of debt trap diplomacy. But what would you call the practices of the IMF and the World Bank, if not debt trap diplomacy, right? Like the purpose of the IMF as this like international financial institution is to, it's to force countries to adopt these structural adjustment policies and economic reforms to open them up to foreign capital. So the receiving country agrees to pass legislation to enact economic reforms that make it more attractive to foreign investment. So in other words, like economic liberalization, neoliberalism, and
austerity, like cutting social spending and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And cutting of pensions, dismantling of labor regulations to make it more attractive to foreign capital. And so really the IMF is an instrument of these imperialist Western financial interests. And what it does is it locks poor and developing countries into these debt traps because you have this loan and then you have interest on top of that loan. And then you have these other hidden interest fees in the form of surcharge fees on top of that. So that ensures that these countries are just locked into these perpetual states of debt so that foreign capital can come in and plunder all your assets and plunder all your resources and completely eliminate whatever's left of the state and eliminate any kind of state intervention in the economy. And they use these to they deliver these aid packages to struggling countries in order to open them up to Western financial interests. Like that is the purpose of the IMF. And you see, its destruction and what it does in places in Africa, but you also see it in places like Ukraine. Like the IMF and U.S. foreign capital is using the war as a pretext to, ram through all of these economic reforms that the Ukrainian government, because it's like entrapped in a war, it doesn't really have the leeway to kind of negotiate or reject all the structural adjustment policies that the IMF is demanding.
Well, and even like in your article that you put out about this recently, you talk about how that was the whole precursor to the Euromaidan protests in the first place. The fact that the IMF was trying to get Ukraine to take an IMF loan for development, Russia came along and offered them a better deal, which included access to cheaper Russian gas. And lo and behold, that was immediately when this organic, democratic Euromaidan protest movement, where Ukrainians stood up and demanded freedom from this kind of the tyranny that they've been experiencing. And then, of course, with the rubber stamping of the U.S. State Department, you get a pro-NATO, pro-Western government installed, and arms immediately start getting pumped into Eastern Ukraine to start what became this proxy war, which is spiraled into the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So it's really interesting, I think, when you're talking about debt trap diplomacy with the IMF in Africa and in Ukraine, how that was a precursor to the invasion, and now that the invasion is happening, they're using the war as cover to ram through these absolute shock doctrine style economic reforms that are like taking away all labor rights, and promoting austerity and all these really market friendly U.S. multinational friendly economic policies that they want.
Yeah, I think the role of the IMF is really interesting and important, but not very much talked about driving force behind the U.S. capitalist class's support for this proxy war in Ukraine, right? Unlike Russia, Ukraine, after the fall of the Soviet Union, it adopted a mixed economy. So it adopted like some market reforms, but retained some level of like state and government intervention. And so, this relationship with the IMF and Ukraine, it formed after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And over the course of, several years, the IMF granted several loans to Ukraine, but it didn't, I don't think it quite was able to achieve the full-on economic liberalization that it had hoped for. And like part of that reason was that Yanukovych, he had a habit of vetoing a lot of the economic reforms that were demanded as conditions of these loans. And like some of them eventually would pass through parliament, but because of him, they would be delayed. And so when Yanukovych in 2013, he was in talks with the EU, and he was expected to sign this EU trade agreement that would have fully integrated it more into the Western economic sphere. And tied to this EU trade agreement was a $17 billion IMF loan. And at the last minute, Putin stepped in and he offered him like a more attractive offer in the form of like $15 billion loan on top of 33% discount on Russian natural gas. And of course, that loan isn't tied to any kind of like reforming of your economy the way that like the IMF loan was. And, of course, these economic reforms, they pose a danger to the government in power, right? Because these reforms affect working class people in really negative ways. And so, if you pass these reforms that that cut people's pensions, raise the retirement age, cut social spending, then often you're met with protests, and it creates like instability for the government that's in power. And it's like these IMF conditions and these loans are like a major violation of political sovereignty, in the sense that like you have to reform your entire economy, and that's something that's not talked about either, I don't think. But anyway, Yanukovych ended up signing the agreement with Putin, and for the EU and the IMF, that was the last straw, because he, as I said, he had already had like a history of either vetoing or delaying these necessary economic reforms. And so that was really the pivotal moment in 2013. And lo and behold, he rejected that deal. And then there were protests that popped up against the Yanukovych government. And the U.S. backed these protests and ended up ousting him, and he fled to Russia in exile. And the US ended up installing, a more EU-friendly regime. And immediately after the coup, the newly installed Prime Minister, Arseniy Yatsenyuk, he immediately resumed talks with the EU, and he signed the trade agreement, and the IMF loan was back on the table. And they ended up passing a bunch of reforms as conditions for that loan. And it included stuff like, I think, like raising the retirement age for women from 55 to 60, cutting wages for public sector workers, raising property taxes, freezing the minimum wage. That was another one. So now that they have like this US EU friendly government in place, the IMF has really taken that opportunity to ram through these kinds of really devastating economic shock therapy policies that they were not able to pre-2014 before the coup.
Yeah, and just with everything that you're describing, it's amazing that people, especially here in the West, people that identify with the left as well, just refuse to see the role that America plays in these events, or suggest that. Like I saw that guy George Monbiot today, who's like one of these like kind of like climate lefty guys from the 90s, who writes in The Guardian, talking about how basically what we're describing as being this kind of like Kremlin propaganda, and it just disguising or hiding or obfuscating Russia's imperialist war of aggression, while denying the role that America, as by far the number one imperialist power in the world, is playing in these events. It's so naive. You're seeing them use that imperialist muscle in Ukraine, and you're also, like we've been talking about this week, you're seeing it in places like Germany as well, where Germany is like, they bombed Germany's pipeline, which was getting them cheaper Russian gas, and now they've pulled Germany into their side of this conflict against Russia, and are forcing them to now not get that cheaper Russian gas, but buy fracked gas from the United States at a much higher cost and a much more environmentally damaging process. I mean, that is imperialism at play. When you have a powerful nation like that, that's able to get countries such as Germany to slit their own throats economically at their behest. I mean, that's an example of a country showing its imperialist power, not a country that's trading, or not even a country that's invading another place. Like that's not what these words mean. But I kind of feel like this kind of leftist terminology has been distorted so much that people were able to throw around this kind of Marxist language in an effort to sort of like, what you end up doing is propping up or continuing to prop up Western hegemony and the actual imperialist powers.
Yeah, and I think the US has done a really good job of, what's that word? Obfuscating, obscuring. Obfuscating. Obfuscating its own imperialist practices through these arms like the IMF, which it controls basically, right?
And they have this degree of separation.
USAID, and also like these like other like NGOs and other mechanisms. Like, I mean, to bring up an example, after 2014 in Ukraine, the IMF sort of demanded that Ukraine kind of cut down on corruption within the government. And, just to be clear, there is like a level of corruption in the Ukrainian government. But this was like another smokescreen through which the IMF or the US could, again, pry it open for Western capital, right? And so what they did was, with the support of the Open Society Foundation and USAID, the IMF and the EU required Ukraine to set up what was called a National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. And so it's like this state body that investigates so-called corruption. But like, what it does is that it just ensures that a lot of state purchases go through foreign firms, like state assets are like sold to foreign firms, and then like all state purchases are like purchased through foreign companies rather than local firms to boost the local Ukrainian economy. And so like one of the initiatives set up by these anti-corruption campaigns is this e-platform site called Prozoro. And Prozoro is basically this online platform where, you know, like where state and municipal people, if they're looking to buy something, they announce the state tenders on the platform, and then business representatives from like Western companies basically bid for it. And so this all but ensures that all state purchases will go through will go through foreign firms rather than like local Ukrainian firms. And what like the IMF and the EU say is that why would you buy like a crappy Ukrainian product when you can buy like a better foreign product? And on top of that, like if you like go through like a local company, then the risk is much higher that your money is going to benefit the local oligarchy. And so it's like this really weird situation now where, usually countries in states of war, they nationalize key sectors of their economy, or they like nationalize production in order to boost the local economy. But Ukraine hasn't really done that. In fact, since the Russian invasion, the IMF has like accelerated privatization in Ukraine. And now, because of like these anti-corruption bureaus and because of Prozoro, something like 40% of all state purchases are go through like foreign companies.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the US and UK, it's like 6 or 7 or 8%. So like an incredibly high number.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's really fascinating. It's like officially sanctioned corruption rather than the corruption that was there previously.
Yeah, like this kind of corruption is good.
This is how you do
your
it.
kind of corruption.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everything that we're talking about here really highlights the really, childish or infantile way that I think we talk about these conflicts here in the West. Like whether you talk about Russia and Ukraine or whether you talk about Taiwan as another example. These are two big fronts in this kind of new Cold War. Ukraine obviously is hot and has heated up, but there are two kind of fronts in this Cold War between Russia and between the United States and Russia and China simultaneously. And I think like the infantile way that we talk about these things, whether it's Ukraine or Taiwan, is we suggest that the choice being offered to these places are to be like, what, do you want to be free and democratic, or do you want to be controlled by Russia, or do you want to be controlled by China? And we just want to support these places and pump them full of arms so that they can defend themselves and be free, autonomous places. And it's just like, I see people repeating this kind of thing, and just given everything that we're talking about, it's just such nonsense. This is not the option that's on the table here for any of these places. It's not like Taiwan is going to be more of a free, autonomous place, or that Ukraine, after this invasion comes to an end, is going to be this free bastion of democracy. They want to be Western client states. Like they want to be a bastion, like holdouts for Western imperialism. They want to be able to pump arms into Taiwan and Ukraine so they can threaten and destabilize their big geopolitical enemies. This idea that people have, this childish idea that that's what these conflicts are about, promoting democracy and sovereignty in these places, is just complete nonsense. But people tell themselves this, and it allows them to give them this kind of like righteous moral stance, when really what they're doing is just supporting more endless Western hegemony and more Western imperialism.
Yeah, I mean, I find the conversation about Ukraine really interesting, especially like the support for arms shipments to Ukraine from the left. I don't know, like I just feel it's really interesting to me because I don't know, you have like these defense contractors that are getting like an endless supply of money from the US government, from the Pentagon. And you look at that and you think like surely they have a material interest in keeping this war going. And on that basis alone, we should oppose this like escalation that the US is constantly like ramping up, and this war drive, and like this constant like legislation to send even more weaponry into Ukraine. Like there's a material interest here that's driving it. But I struggle to understand the like leftists who support this kind of these arms shipments and like what their reasoning is.
Russia bad. That's really all it comes down to. That's the thing. It's like, I think there was a time when I didn't think it was like controversial to be on the left and to like be against NATO, to be I'm not going to support NATO pumping arms into this country to wage a proxy war. I don't think it's good for Ukraine or anyone else. It's certainly not good for average Ukrainians for the country to be turned into this like endless blood-soaked quagmire, which is great for weapons and defense contractors. It's great for the U.S. State Department to destabilize Russia that way, but it's not actually good for people in Ukraine to be living through this extended war zone, which is all that these endless arms transfers are going to accomplish. Like, I started paying attention to this story because I was reading reporting a couple years ago about how the Canadian government and Canadian intelligence was arming and training these right-wing militias to fight in Eastern Ukraine. And to me, it was kind of a no-brainer, Well, I'm a socialist. Yeah, I'm against our government sending arms and giving training to these fascist militias. I don't think that should be controversial. But this whole last year has been such a weird moment where I think you see the kind of programming that people have been experienced. Really, it makes it impossible for them to have a genuine kind of like nuanced analysis of any of this. And it's so many people who kind of like have built brands as being leftists have just gone all in on this support NATO, support the U.S. State Department, endless arms transfers. It's been very bizarre to see it, and to see the way that like people talking about peace or people saying, no, we shouldn't support NATO are framed as being these radicals or extremists, or ironically being framed as tankies, despite literally arguing to not have tanks being sent to the country. It's been a very kind of grim reminder about how sort of the Western left, such as it is really in a large part just kind of completely kind of politically incoherent and often very reactionary, especially when it comes to these foreign policy views. And when the propaganda button starts being pressed and you see that big full court press coming from the US government and the media, how susceptible people are to it, even people that should know better, people think that they're above being victims of propaganda like that. It's been an eye-opening experience paying attention to that.
Yeah, the situation in Ukraine, it's a little bit difficult to build an anti-war movement around, because it's not like Iraq, where the government was like directly sending Americans off to die. And so in order to really understand Ukraine, you have to like understand these US mechanisms for US imperialism, like NATO, like the IMF, like the World Bank, like we were talking about. And it's a little bit difficult to like wrap your mind around. And then you have the propaganda around Russia that already existed in the form of like Russiagate a few years ago.
Yeah.
And people, and like, just like remnants of the Cold War, people still like thinking that Russia is in some way the Soviet Union. So there's like a little bit of anti-communism running through that. And so it involves like a little bit it's like a much tougher situation to understand. And there's already a lot of like anti-Russia hysteria around it. And then you get a lot of people, a lot of these leftists kind of talking about a decolonization project to give it like some like leftist veneer, that the war in Ukraine is a decolonization project.
They're calling to turn Russia into 30 different ethnic states that are all different ethnic groups. Of course, controlled by NATO. And they do the same thing with China as well, right? They want to balkanize China, and they talk about decolonizing China and turning Xinjiang into East Turkestan and decolonizing Hong Kong and Taiwan and Tibet. Of course, there's the Tibet discourse is popping up again. It's very insidious how this kind of left-wing language about imperialism and decolonization and these things are used to prop up the major imperialist power in the world.
The decolonization argument is like a bit ahistorical anyways, and like a bit like decontextualized, because like decolonization, when it was discussed like during the Cold War, like during these national liberation movements that were popping up everywhere, decolonization meant like some formation of like a welfare state that would like take care of like its citizens. But decolonization in this context is only discussing it only means like kicking out any sort of Russian political or economic or cultural influence. But it's like it's kind of combined also with this elimination and attack of the state. So there was like a really good New Left Review article that came out really criticizing a lot of these like Ukrainian voices on the left that are like often live in the States or are Western university educated, that are calling for this like so-called decolonization, but totally ignoring the fact that the IMF is driving this complete elimination of the state. And, like, what good is this decolonization if in the end there's nothing left of the welfare state to begin with in Ukraine?
Yeah. And then, it was also about, decolonization in the Cold War context too, is also about nationalizing resources too, and actually having the people in these colonized countries profit from the natural resources that were being exploited by the British Empire and by the Americans as well, or doing land reform or things like that, which were huge red flags to the CIA, who had wanted nothing to do with that. And then they ensured that this kind of like neo-colonial regimes were instituted in any of these places, and anyone that got any ideas about land reform or nationalization were assassinated or targeted by coups or destabilization efforts or anything like that. And I mean, to tie it together with what you were mentioning earlier, how a lot of this stuff is always projection as well. So it's very interesting, definitely Americans and Canadians and Australians talking about decolonizing, Russia or China, and not really having that same energy for our own societies, which are built atop of massive graveyards of millions of people that we killed to take this land in the first place. Which we attribute to everybody else except us.
Decolonization means the exact opposite of what you were talking about in that like Cold War national liberation struggle context. Decolonization means like just like the breaking apart of these countries into ethnic enclaves to make it easier for like penetration of US capital.
Great. Sounds like that's going to be a great situation for everyone that lives in these places. You turn Russia and China into 10 separate NATO subservient ethno-states. I'm sure that would be really great for everybody that lives there. Well, Amanda, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but this has been a great discussion. I'm really happy that you could come on the program. I really appreciate all the writing and commentary you do about this. It's very valuable for anyone that wants to learn about these kinds of this kind of subject matter. Thank you. It was really great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. As I said, big fan of your show. So yeah, it was a real pleasure to be on.
Cool. Do you want to just plug your Patreon and your own show that you do? It'd be great to do that before you sign off.
Yeah. So I have a podcast. It's called Radio Free Amanda. I actually, some of it is behind a paywall, but I also have a lot that's free, so you can check it out. And if you like it, I would be really grateful if you subscribed. It's at patreon.com/Radio Free Amanda. And then if you don't already, you can follow me on Twitter at cat content only.
Unfortunately, there is some content that is not cat content that gets posted there, but we'll let that one slide.
Yeah. But I do post cat content sometimes and plant content.
That's good. What's your cat's name? How many cats do you have?
Well, I don't have a cat, but
Okay.
our roommate, he has a cat named Winston, but he's moving out pretty soon. Right. But then like another person is moving in who has a cat, and I'm really excited. It's a Russian blue cat, and his name's Stony. So, yeah.
So
everyone prepare for Pictures of Stony.
Okay, we're all looking forward to that. Thanks again, Amanda. It was great to talk to you. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was wonderful. Radio Free Amanda, everybody. That was tremendous. That was just tremendous. I'm going to take a little break before I got to go. I will remind you folks, if you enjoy conversations like the one that I just had with our friend Radio Free Amanda, and also thank you to Evocative Nonsense for the 100 friend coin 4 minutes ago. Thank you, Evocative Nonsense. If you enjoy these kinds of conversations, if you enjoy the content, folks, please subscribe to the channel, join the community, get the emotes, join the Discord. It costs $5 per month, or it's totally free of charge using your Amazon Prime account. And you can join Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system. It's the only such system that exists on this entire platform. You've just become an elite member
of the Friendship Triangle.
Thank you very much, GMO Radio, for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And thank you, Top Scruffy, for the 22 months tier 1. Thank you. Thank you, Top Scruffy. Hassan has my Prime. You have my dollars. That's the true measure of a highly valued community member. Thank you, Ben. Wonderful. The best part is that the clout trickles down. It trickles down, folks. It trickles down. It's really good stuff. I'm going to take a little break. All right? I'm going to take a little break. Don't go anywhere. I got another 15 minutes or so. I'm just going to take a short break, go stretch my legs. I'll come back. We'll do some final little chit-chat, and then we will say goodbye.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Sunny Sola, for the 2 gifted subs. Thank you to Sunny Sola. Very kind of you. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, folks. Let's see here. Okay, I'll just be 1 moment, okay? I'm just going to be 1 moment. Don't go anywhere. All right? I'll talk to you soon. What's up, folks? I'm back. That was a really great conversation with Radio Free Amanda. That was really cool. Very happy she was able to come on the program. Very good stuff. Very good stuff indeed. Keith Comer. This has been a good week. I think this has been a good week of content. Good week of content over here at TRRS. I feel good about it. All this spreadsheet talk with no Marty, I know. He's missing it's his moment. It's Marty's moment to shine here. Yeah, I agree, John. Aaron Good should come back. I really enjoyed talking to him. You know, folks, I might complain sometimes about being like a Twitch streamer. I really enjoy the work. Sometimes I hate trying to crack the whip on the subs and all that stuff and making the number go up. It's a little dehumanizing. It's a little depressing. One really positive thing that I enjoy about being a Twitch streamer is that I can just, on Friday, a little early, I can just leave. Right? I was like, oh, I guess I should stay for another 30 minutes and like chit chat and hang out. But it's like, I don't need to do that. Why? Why do I need to? I don't. So I'm not going to. I'm going to go.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Sam, thank you so much. Sam, very, very kind of you for the whopping 10 gifted subs. That alert is never going to get old. That alert is just never going to get old. I just love it. Sam, thank you very much. Back to work. That was fantastic. Thank you, Sam. Thanks again for your empathy and compassion, Rob. I've had a bit of a hard week with the whole HPL thing, as I was part of a community that had their trans community exiled. You brought a smile to my face for the first time in a while. Sam, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you for saying that. And thank you very, very much for the 10 gifted subs. That's really kind of you. And I am going to leave soon, but I really just one generous chatter, folks, could get to the old sub goal. You know, it's not necessary. We don't need to. You know, if you can't, if we're tapped out for the week, totally okay. But I'm simply saying that one generous chatter could get us there. Or 5 less generous chatters. Generous, but less generous. I don't need you. I can just clock out early. Well. That's right. That's right. I've kind of hoisted by my own petard there. You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle. Socialist Aviator. Look at that. First 5 gifted subs in the channel. Immediately making a huge impact. Rocketing all the way up to the elite tier of Twitch's only 2-dimensional, triangle-shaped, trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system. Look at that. The system works, folks. The system works. Thank you very, very much, Socialist Aviator, and everyone that tuned into the show this week, and everyone who supports this show and the content that I do. I really do appreciate it so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you. This is a good week of content. I'll try and line up some more good stuff for next week, okay? I'm kind of back into full-time streamer mode here. It's been now a month since I've been back from the holidays where I've been going full. I've not been slacking. I've been 5 days a week. We've been getting guests. We've been having great discussions, doing great coverage. I'm really happy with the content that we've been putting out here on
just become an elite
TRRS.
member of the Friendship Triangle.
MK Reds, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is outrageous. Thank you, MK Reds, for the 5 gifted subs as well. Good lord. Have a good weekend. Sending secret China balloons your way for luck. Very nice. I'm happy to know that. I'm going to try to make some more TikToks this week so China gets even more of my data. That was good. I liked that whole bit with the eucalyptus towels. That was good. I liked that. That was funny. Thanks, Squatch. Happy you could stop by. The people demand more balloons. I know I do. I know I need more balloons. You know, I just saw our friend Doc Hollywood go live. I think we can give a raid to our friend Doc Hollywood. I love the China spy balloon. Me too. Me too. Unironically a big fan of that. You take pictures of my state or province from like 60,000 feet in the air. I genuinely do not care. I invite China or any other place to do that. Not my problem. Thanks again, folks. Unfortunately, the Twitch algorithm did not bestow upon us the thousands of viewers again today. Although we did pretty well. We've been getting a little algorithmic boosting on the program lately. I can appreciate that. Hopefully, we'll get some more action, some more front page action next week. We're going mainstream this year, folks. We're going mainstream. Getting that Bezos bump. I have no idea how you get boosted, Lana, but again, I encourage everyone to subscribe and follow to our friend Lana, aka Freak Museum, as well. She's always got the good takes. Very good streamer. Part of the community. That's all, folks. I'll talk to you in the Discord, and I'll see you on Monday. Goodbye.